Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Farhan, also known as Gunner since 96. Thank you very much for joining me again. I hope you are all doing well. Now, before we start the video, if I could please ask you all to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and hit that bell notification to be notified every time I release a video. Thank you very much. We're back again for another video. Today is going to be a little bit different. We are focusing on something a little bit non-football related right now, if that made any sense. Basically, I'm taking a step back, and instead of focusing on what's happening right now, I'm going to try and have a look at the overview, the bigger picture, and analyze the tactical evolution of Mikel Arteta's reign at Arsenal this season. Now, I've been a little bit anxious about this video because in order to do something like this, in order to analyze something so broad and so that requires so much detail, it needs to be studied for a lengthy period of time. And my studying time has approximately been 45 minutes, if that, maybe an hour. Being a bit unfair on myself. So I've used this earlier on in the day. I used the time after I woke up, brushed my teeth, etc., to have a look at all the results in the Premier League. So I should mention that I'm only going to be focusing on Premier League games, and so I had a look at Premier League results, the way that we've been setting up, a brief look at some match highlights as well, just to remind myself on what happened during those games. And so I have 3 questions that need answering. 3 questions that I hope to answer for myself. Number 1, what's worked, what hasn't? Number 2, the best formation overall throughout the whole game. And number 3, best system of play on the ball and best system of play off the ball. This is what I've noticed during the season. Now, we should start by mentioning that Arteta himself, before he even started his managerial career, made one statement in which he highlighted 2 points when asked about how he wanted to play football as a manager. And 2 key words that he used was entertaining and expressive. Expressive in the sense that he wanted to have, he wants to play with possession. He wants to dominate the game. He wants to dominate with the ball, and he wants to give the players the freedom to do what they feel is right at that time, rather than being cautious and playing safe balls. And entertaining, obviously, because, football, the reason why football is probably the number 1 sport in the whole world is because of how entertaining it is, the art of playing football. There is something different from the way football is played in comparison to any other sport. The way to win a football match varies in so many different ways. It's fascinating to watch 2 different teams play each other, because you know that both teams will play the game differently. And also, one thing that I personally love about this game more than anything is the amount of people it brings together, but more so the different opinions and the different ways that people watch a game of football. The way that I am going to be interpreting the tactics that Arsenal have been playing throughout this season might be completely different to what you interpret. The way that we watch football, the way that we see the ball move, or the way that we see players move around the pitch are completely different, and that's one of the most beautiful things about the sport. And that's also a disclaimer going into this video. I hope nobody judges me too harshly. These are just, like I said, pure analysis based on these 2 things over here, my one pair of eyes, and just the way that I make sense of football, especially in this crazy season that Arsenal have had. So, having said that, let's talk about how Arsenal started off this season. So the way that Mikel Arteta has been playing football, he's been using two main formations, which is a 3-4-3 or a 4-2-3-1. Predominantly, those two have been the systems that he's been using, alternating from one or the other, depending on results, depending on performances as well. One thing that I've noticed during the transition of these formations is the number of different players that he's been using within those systems as well. I sensed that Arteta was experimenting quite a bit at the beginning of the season, whilst for the most part of the first, I would say 10 games, 8 to 10 games, he was using the 3-4-3 formation, but chopping and changing with the players that he was using in the system to see what works best. We started off at Fulham, and we came out with a great result, a 3-0 victory at Craven Cottage. And we played a dominating style of football. I think coming off the back of the FA Cup and the Community Shield, playing the different style of football that we were playing, because we were sort of forced into playing that style, a sort of counter-attacking style of football where we allowed the opposition to be dominant, especially playing big games, big opponents like Liverpool, Chelsea, City, allow them to have most of the ball, stay really compact, stay really organised at the back, man marking a lot of the time, zonal marking, really, really crucial here. And I think these two things have been missing this season. Zonal marking, efficient zonal marking, and efficient man marking. There has been a lot of ball watching this season, which has been at the detriment of our performances, of the results as well, because despite performing quite well during the 90 minutes of the game, off the ball we have been really, really poor, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So the game against Fulham was an opportunity for Arteta to show what he wanted to play, and having made the signings that he did, I imagine Arteta would have thought in the back of his head, right, I think we're almost there here. We can now start playing the style of football that we want to do, and the style of football that he's been wanting to play ever since he came in. And so Fulham was the perfect game to put his plan into action. And we saw it throughout the 90 minutes. We saw what he wanted to do. We saw the attacking style of football that he wanted to play. Very, very direct football as well, I have to say. One thing that Arteta has shown, his ability to express the nature to play the game in a fast-flowing way without looking back. And that's been the downfall, really, because whilst we've been really exciting going forward, down the wings especially, we have been struggling when we lose the ball out of possession to track back and reshape or reform or go into or morph into a different formation that suits us when we're off the ball. And that's shown in the last couple of, not last couple of games, but in the games before the Chelsea games. We've been really, really poor to once we've lost the ball to do well in man marking, getting back into position, etc., etc. So Fulham was a really, really good result. We then went on to West Ham. The next few results I'm going to talk about them in sort of bunches, in groups. So West Ham dominated the ball again, and some really, really good signs, some really good opportunities. However, the one downfall that I saw was the complacency in transitioning from attacking from in position to chasing the ball. It's been way too slow. That's something that's a pattern that I've realized. I think the misconception, because although we have improved our defensive side, although we have looked more solid at the back, the overall defensive work, the work rate off the ball has been really, really poor, and something that has continued, I think, throughout Wenger's reign, up until Mikel Arteta's reign, even during Unai's reign. Just the pure laziness of the ball and naivety has been a constant. And again, I think it has been a misconception, a big misconception from an Arsenal fan's point of view where we've been told that, our defense, Arteta's come in and he's improved the defensive side of things. He has, but it hasn't been a 360 improvement. It has sort of been almost a 90 degrees or a 25% improvement. Maybe look, and like I said, you might disagree with that, but this is something that I've just been observing from the games that I've been watching, especially the games that we've conceded. It has been a real slow turn of it's been a real sort of change, a slow change in movement, in pace. When the opposition has the ball, the footballing brain needs to be switched on and say, right, we're going to change our formation into this shape. I need to now be here. And I need to be looking at this player. I need to be looking at this run. But what I've noticed from Arsenal in the games following on from, in fact, even from West Ham, from West Ham up until the Chelsea game, it has been, and this is a problem that still continues on to this day now, is that there's too many ball watchers. Although we've got some really good attacking defenders in the likes of Tierney, Bellerin, Maitland-Niles to some extent, Saka for some time in the season as well. We've got some really good ball players, Luiz, Gabriel. But our downfall has been when we've lost the ball, we're unable to change the mindset, to change the footballing mind. And I don't know whether that's something that Arteta hasn't addressed. I don't know if that's something that we're yet to get to grips of. I'm not sure. But the way that I see it, a football game is a game of two halves and is also a game of two different styles of play. You're playing on the ball and you're playing off the ball. Now, when you're playing on the ball, your mindset has to be in an attacking sense. How do I get the ball from my defensive half to the attacking half as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible? When you've lost the ball, the brain needs to say, right, we've lost the ball. I need to get into shape. I need to make sure that the team, the 10 players on the field playing the game needs to be in the correct position. We need to close down any gaps. We need to make sure that whoever is trying to run in behind us is being tracked. And I think what I'm trying to say is that what Arsenal have lacked this season is football intelligence. And that's something that doesn't come so easily. It's something that needs to be practiced over and over and over again until it's inbuilt into your system. And it's something which is difficult for young players to get the grips of because it comes with experience. So, and looking at the core of the defense, it's quite young, with the likes of Gabriel, Tierney, Bellerin, really young players. And in the midst of that, you've got Luiz, who's the experienced one, but tends to make a lot of mistakes because of just pure sloppiness. So let's continue on talking. I don't want to spend too much time talking about specific results or specific games. I want to try and get the overall picture in front of you guys so that it's less about who's made what mistakes in this game and more about the constants, what we've been seeing represented in each game time and time again, things that have been replicated. So, and I think we also need to bear in mind that the psychological mindset of players has come into effect as well. When you're losing game after game after game, it's really easy to be really cautious, play really cautious, block yourself off from trying to be bold and trying to represent an attacking threat. But again, I personally believe that the attacking side of the game is something that we don't need to worry about because we've got enough talent there to do it. The defensive side of game, in terms of being organized at the back, just defending one-on-ones, I think we are okay at that side as well. But the side that's letting us down is when we lose the ball, the transition from losing the ball to getting into position to man marking to tracking runs, etc., etc. That's been very, very poor. And I think the game that I noticed it the most was the Leicester game. The Leicester game was a prime example for me, and not throughout the game. I'm talking about the goal that we conceded was just real alarm bells just ringing from that moment, knowing that we were completely clueless on that side of the game. When Jamie Vardy came on, I think every football fan knew what Jamie Vardy was going to do. His instant reaction in coming on was going to be to run in behind our defence as quickly as possible and then try and get at the end of a cross, or try and, make that run so the ball's pinged over the top, something like that. And the naivety of our defending whilst he was on was incredible, because you would think that someone of Vardy's stature, someone with Vardy's qualities would be noticed instantly, so that we would get a man who was always man marking him, always watching his run, tracking his movement, and that was invisible. And we saw that in the first goal. Nobody was marking him. It was really half-hearted, really sluggish. He was free as a bird to run into that box and get at the end of that cross. And that was really, really, really disappointing to see. So, and in that Leicester game, we were playing a 3-4-3, and that was at the back of our 4-3-3 formation that we had changed against City. So actually, there's 3 different formations that we've been playing: 3-4-3, 4-3-3, and 4-2-3-1. Now, if we're going to ask which formation I think Arsenal have been playing the best with, or where we've looked the strongest with, I would like to think that a 4-2-3-1 is something we are looking more stronger in, whilst we have the ball and whilst we don't have the ball as well, because there is a good shape where we are. I mean, let's have it right. Arsenal right now don't really care about the middle of the pitch. All they care about is the wings, because we don't have that number 10 other than Emile Smith-Rowe. We don't really have anyone to play through the middle. So if we lose the ball on the wings, we know that in a 4-2-3-1 formation, we've got enough bodies to track back. So if Tierney and if Bellerin or whoever's on the other side bombing forward, you've got the likes of Xhaka, El Neni to cover that side, whilst you still have the attacking forward in the likes of Emile Smith-Rowe, whoever it is, to remain forward. And you've also got the likes of Saka as well, and Pepe or Willian, whoever, who can track back, because what tends to happen in that type of formation is that Tierney will overlap the run, or Bellerin will overlap the run and allow the attacking wingers to sort of get into the box to cause more of a threat. So that's the best formation that I think Arsenal have the best formation that we've played in, and the one that we're looking more strongest in. There are still holes in that formation, but anytime we played in a 4-2-3-1, we, especially recently, beating Chelsea, beating Brighton, beating West Brom, we have looked really, 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 really good going forward. And I imagine that Arteta on the ball would play that formation, but off the ball have 5 at the back. And we've got sort of no choice but to play 5 at the back. And I think the misconception of playing 5 at the back is off the ball is that maybe you're playing too defensively almost with 5 at the back, because you're limiting the number of on-field players and you're inviting the opposition team to almost get into the last third of your half. But I think it's a really, really effective way to win the ball as soon as possible and also close down the opposition attackers. Makes it almost difficult for them to try and find the way across, especially if you're organised at the back and you have 5 at the back. If you're organised and you've got 5 at the back, we saw it with Newcastle in the FA Cup. They had 5 at the back off the ball, and almost always, and this is, I mean, I'd say largely because Aubameyang let them do that, but almost always they had a very nice, straight, organised line, which made it really difficult for us to get in behind them. And yeah, so that's something which is working for us now. Something that hasn't worked for us, I'd say, is the 4-3-3. I don't know, actually. I'm actually quite unsure whether it's the 4-3-3 or the 3-4-3, or even whether it's the 4-2-3-1 as well, because the 4-2-3-1 has seen us suffer the worst results against Burnley, losing points to Leeds. We should have lost to Leeds, really, against Wolves, against Tottenham. So as well as it being our biggest asset, it is also our biggest downfall, because being in a 4-2-3-1 formation. And the biggest problem, like I said, I'll repeat it, has been just switching on and off. We're just not being able to switch on and cover the ground that we've left empty. So, for example, if we're moving forward in a 4-2-3-1, our wingers are moving really, really forward, high up on the pitch. Our centre backs are sort of just behind the halfway line, and our midfielders are supporting the wingers to try and open up gaps in the opposition defence, in their sort of just outside of their penalty box. So when we lose it, the transition of play needs to be so fast that we've got our wingers back, or we've got whoever's able to whoever's able to cover the positions of Tierney and Bellerin or Maitland-Niles needs to come back really, really quickly and cover that position. And you almost need to, and the danger is of playing that sort of attacking football is that the moment you lose it, you need to have those positions covered. And the majority of the goals that we've conceded have been from the wings being so empty because no one's there to cover it. And when you rely on someone like Holding or Louise to go in those positions, try and force the opposition wingers to go down the flank, it doesn't work out well because the opposition players are able to show the defenders inside, put a ball into the box, or have a shot like Son did, which I'm still trying to forget. And yeah, so again, I'm gonna have to say that the biggest weakness in our formation has been the 4-2-3-1, and that can be easily solved. We can easily resolve that problem if we fix the transition of play. If we can get players switched on quicker, and if we can stop ball watching and get it into our heads that we need to cover ground, we need to mark accordingly to where we are placed on our pitch, then we will be fine. And the best players do it. The best teams do it all the time. Liverpool do it all the time. City do it all the time, where as soon as they've lost the ball, instantly they're pouncing to get the ball back, but at the same time they are ready to make sure that they are structured across the pitch so that their shape is reformed, and it confuses the opposition into maybe passing it back. And we saw it against City when we played them. The sort of intensity in their play off the ball closed us down to really not know what to do. It was sort of sideways passing it back to Leno, and that was really our downfall because it was causing them to put pressure on us and then making the mistakes. And so we get sort of to now, the last 3-4 games where things have been looking a lot more rosier. Having said that, we played a really, really poor Chelsea side, who didn't look attacking at all. Who didn't look a threat at all. Brighton was a really sort of a tense game, with two sides trying to play on the counter-attack because they were really quite cautious in going at each other. And then the West Brom game was an annihilation. And I think I've answered all of the questions, really. So where do we stand now? Well, now we stand in a 4-2-3-1 formation where Lacazette should be playing up front, but as a false nine, essentially, because Lacazette up front by himself as a target man like Aubameyang doesn't work unless we have an Emile Smith-Rowe in the middle. And actually, I'd be quite interested to see Emile Smith-Rowe in the middle, maybe playing in a 4-4-2 formation with Emil Smith-Rowe playing as a more attacking midfielder, Partey playing as a pivot. You have maybe play Ceballos as a left midfielder, but him playing more as a central midfielder alongside Partey, but dominating the left-hand side, and then having Pepe on the right midfield playing down the wing, and then having Aubameyang and Lacazette in the centre, but Aubameyang playing more as a winger rather than a striker, and Lacazette being in the middle as a false nine striker. Look, I know what I know what I have in my head. I'm trying to explain it. It's not really working out well. Basically, what I'd like to see is Aubameyang playing as a striker, but alongside Lacazette, where Lacazette has the potential to open up defences, because his movement is so good off the ball, because he's so good at manipulating defence and creating a problem at the back. He has the potential to open up doors for Aubameyang to run in, and then you've got the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe or even Saka to ping balls in, look for those open spaces. And it also gives us enough shape so that when we lose the ball, you've got Aubameyang and Lacazette who can stay up front, and then everyone else just pushes back, gets into shape. And you know, that's sort of a very wild thought, almost something just like a fantasy. I don't see it happening, but it will be quite interesting to see Aubameyang and Lacazette playing up front in the centre together. We've seen it before, under a different manager, under different tactics, under different players as well. But yeah, hopefully one day we will see that. I'm just envisioning it. Sorry if I'm zoning out a little bit, but I'm just imagining it, and how it could be. It'll be interesting to see how we set up against Crystal Palace. I think it will be pretty much the same as we have been with West Brom, with Brighton and Chelsea. It will be interesting to see who we play. But I won't go on and talk about the Crystal Palace game and how I expect us to set up. I'll save that for another video. I'll leave it there. It's been a little bit of a all over the place kind of video. I hope you've got the gist of what I was trying to relay to you guys. I hope I have answered the questions for you guys. If you do have any other questions, any questions that I haven't answered, or whether you disagree with me, agree with me, you can leave a comment below. If you haven't done so, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and please click that bell notification so you're notified every time I release a video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have, and I will see you tomorrow. But until then, stay safe, stay home, and have a lovely day. Thank you.